Quick show of hands, who's had their job less than 4 years? Right? So it's kind of like a new way of learning to do things with the new market. So first I want to thank everyone who filled out my survey. Great answers, thank you. And I used those answers to help to create today's presentation. I had promised you, if you filled out the survey, that I would send you a gift, and I'll get to that next week. And we're going to compile the results of the survey, create a summary, and at the end of my presentation, there'll be a slide with my email address and my phone number, so you can just take a picture of that. You don't have to worry about writing anything down. And I'm happy to send you the PowerPoint as well. So thanks, everyone. So this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to look at new, refined, and flexible sales techniques. We're going to look at new stakeholders in the ecosystem, right? How we've been doing business is totally different than how we were doing business. We're going to learn tips for creating effective supplier relationships. And we're going to share how many professionals and suppliers are collaborating to overcome speed bumps and high hurdles 22 and beyond. Does that sound good? Yeah. Great. So this session, if you haven't seen me before, I'm very interactive, and if you don't volunteer, I will volunteer you. So we'll start with that. All right, so let's start with my meeting professionals. Just a quick show of hands. Who has done a virtual site tour? Okay. Mary Ann, what is it like?
It was different because I'm homeschooled. I like to unpack, I like to see and touch, but it was a good way and a quick way to get a good feel for what it was.
So was there something you wanted to see that they didn't show you?
No, I wouldn't say so much, but I'm like one of those people who likes to actually look in the corners of the rooms and count the number of outlets that are in there because I know what my program needs, or I might, in the sleeping rooms, I want to touch the beds, I want to make sure they're comfortable. So I'm pretty tactile when it comes to my programs.
I have to see the banquet kitchen and the banquet hallway. Anybody else? Do you have to see how clean that is, right? All right, who over here? Hi. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Hi, Blair. You've done, oh, let's hear more. This is Blair with Enchantment. God's country.
I actually hosted numerous virtual site visits with basically my phone, Zoom, and a selfie stick, walking very slowly through all these spaces, and then occasionally I'd get on a golf cart and we'd go really fast. But it was good. It gives a feel of the property and firsthand and so forth, but there's nothing better than actually being one-on-one with the client, one-on-one on the property, so you can actually feel the atmosphere and everything. But nature of COVID.
So were there things people wanted to see that you weren't showing, or were you showing things that they didn't want to see?
No, I was showing everything, walking around, and as long as the bandwidth worked and my internet still worked, I would circle back and show them a little bit of everything, so.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Anybody else, one other person want to share? Virtual? Have you done it, Amy, all the way in Germany?
Yes, and it gets extremely lost. Yeah, I don't need a microphone. It gets extremely lost in the lift, as they call it, the lift, the elevator. So, yeah.
Oh, so you did it live.
Yes.
So my next question would be, how many of you on your website have information that a meeting planner can access what we call on demand? So they can go, Tucson has it, you have it, Matt, don't you? They can go on, they can look at the hotels, they can look at, right?
No, but we have a new thing we're going to be launching this year. We'll be launching sort of a virtual map that will take you through the city so you can see hotel to hotel. But again, it's not live yet. More to come. It's in 3D.
It sounds great, doesn't it? I know the Tucson CVB, they have it on demand. So if you're a meeting professional and you decide at 8 o'clock at night you want to start sourcing your meeting for Tucson, right? You go right on their CVB website, right, Kate? You've been there, and you download it, and they've got a lot of good stuff that you can watch. Have you watched it?
Yes.
And what did you like about it?
Well, I think it is. I think when you don't know where you may want to go or you haven't been to Tucson before, I think it's a great just introduction to what we have.
Yeah. Reed Park was in there, the zoo. I love that place. Yeah. All right, great. So hospitality sales executives, what kind of Right, so this was one of the survey questions that I sent out. So go ahead and think about it. Where's Jerry at? Yeah, you're a heavy-hitting salesperson. So how are you compared to a year ago?
What is that?
How are you as a salesperson compared to a year ago?
Very busy. Well, you know, our company is Amadeus. We're a technology company. We support probably many of the hoteliers that are in here in some form or fashion. Whether it's data, or whether it's Delphi, or whether it's booking engines, or whatever. We do a lot. So, what I have found is that our partners are doing more with less, and so we try to see ourselves as a hotel partner, not a vendor per se, and so we get involved. We got involved globally with HSMAI to provide a recovery playbook for sales and marketing and revenue management and operations, and we try to help people walk through this whole process over the last 2 years. And, it's great to see the recovery. It's great to see hotels filling up. It's great to see the Vegas Strip filling up and all the masks coming off in the casinos. But my job is the same, except busier.
Excellent. Who else wants to? Oh, yeah. Hi, how are you? What kind of salesperson are you compared to a year ago?
So I think one of the big differences, I think it's been evolving over the last 5 years, but we're on more of a pull system than a push system, where you've got a lot of clients that want to hunt and gather information. They don't want to talk to you. They want you to send them all your stuff. They'll evaluate it on their own. So you have to figure out, how do I convey my value proposition to somebody that doesn't want to talk to me? You know, and I think that's the big difference. And you do that through video, you do that through being very creative and figuring out what's my competition going to say, and how can I anticipate their pain points and answer them for them.
That was excellent. I love that. Anticipatory service. I thought I coined that, but you beat me to it. That was great. So here's a question though, because if you're a meeting professional in this room, you're going to tell me I'm not a salesperson, I'm a meeting professional. But I'm going to challenge you on that, because are you not selling sponsorships, trade show booths, exhibit space? So how has that changed for you, Donna, in your sales techniques?
I guess I'm going to be fortunate because I'm an association planner and we have a niche market and membership. So I haven't really had to sell too hard. They just come to me and bring me their money, which is nice.
See, that's great. That's great. So you? No?
We do have customers that we are selling our service to, and I think people are much more open to getting together and spending more money to do that right now. They were a year ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree. We have budgets they need to use by July 1st, right? All right, so let's look at what some of the survey answers came back. So if you're a hotelier, raise your hand, or DMO, tell me if this is true. You're selling to all markets, just not the association or nonprofit, and each market segment is different. Do you find that to be true, Kate?
Absolutely.
Penny? Yes. Yeah, for sure. So if you're used to selling government and you start selling association, your brain has to rewire differently, I think. This person shifted to more of a marketeer from a different segment. So this would be like starting a new job, like Mary Ann just did, or Suki just did, right? You have to look at the new profile of your audience, even though you're still planning meetings. You have to look at their purchasing habits, what is good to procure, what their rules are. Are they a green company? Do they only do business in the United States? So that's a big learning curve too. And the bottom one is from an independent planner that I know, and she said, it's still a struggle. I know as a small business owner it's my job, but I don't like it. So who here doesn't like to sell? Right? I could not imagine that. Who here like me loves a good cold call? Oh yeah, right? There is nothing better than knowing who's gonna be. Are you gonna leave with a friend or another diamond smile, right? Okay, so this would be for both of y'all. Hospitality sales executives and meeting professionals, have you seen RFP formats changing? Are people still asking for new physical distancing and sanitation requirements?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing it, sometimes it's not even me as a planner, because I'm actually trying to source up free programs now. It's the properties that are wanting to go that route, when I'm not even asking first. So it's been very interesting, it's good to be writing RFPs again, but I've had to redo my whole MO, because properties are looking at my business a whole, they're scrutinizing it way closer than they used to. So it's kind of a bit of sales and smoothing, and then I need to find out what they want from me. I have to sell my business to them, it's not the other way around.
Right, that's a gentleman called the revenue manager, right? What about you, Kate?
Well, I think everything does change. I have a client who right now, we had to have many calls and teleconferences and we had to walk them through social distancing and what it looked like, and we kept sending more and more plans and more. So some people are hypersensitive to still COVID protocols, and some like, I don't care. So you don't know who you're getting on the phone either, or who you're talking to and where they're at as a company. And so that's one of the first questions we have to ask is, what is your normal looking like now in order best to meet what they need?
That's great feedback. Olivia, what are you seeing when you get stuff in Tempe? Are they asking for those spatial requirements?
To be honest, I'm not seeing too much of that trend. I feel like it's waxed off a bit, but that could just be for Tempe year in my eyes.
Right, it could be so 2021, and we won't know that till probably June, right? So this could be the best year ever, or the worst year to still come. All right, so hospitality sales executives. How is distance selling affecting your closing rate? Anybody? Who sells distance? Penny, you do?
I do.
Oh.
You know what? Right now, everything is short term. I just got a phone call and they wanted to book my hotel out in less than a week out.
Oh.
I mean, this is short term. Everything is short term.
And you have the availability?
No. I mean, it's short term. Everything is short term. There's no long term. If I'm booking something 6 months out, it's like, really? I get excited.
How about you, Deborah? You haven't been on sales missions, you haven't been, so what have you been doing for your distance selling?
Well, we actually have started traveling again, so that's exciting. But when we were doing more of the distance selling, we created virtual fams, like virtual site visits, just anything we could to get exposure to the destination virtuals.
And did that help your closing rate? Did one thing work better than another?
Well, anytime you touch the clients, I would say through COVID, people actually wanted to talk to us a bit more. It wasn't so much, I don't have time for you, send me an email or reach out to your global salesperson. It was, yes, let's talk it all through. So I think we built stronger relationships.
Excellent. Anybody else have any other thoughts? Distance selling? Yes, Nat.
Well, one thing, looking at Super Bowl, right? It's right around the corner, less than a year away. We started sourcing Super Bowl room blocks back in 18, 19 when James was still part of the team. And there's still not enough room to go around. So we're in a position where the NFL, their partners, their sponsors need rooms. We have more supply in the valley than ever, but now they're looking as far as Tucson, Flagstaff, Sedona, Prescott, just to find rooms for the event. They're going to be commuting back and forth. So if you're in transportation, that's a good option.
Yeah. My friend over here told me she did the media one year up in Prescott, right? And they were driving back and forth every day. So it is. We have lots of things that have helped us. I agree. People want to spend more time talking to you and learning about you, and they're going to save that knowledge for the future, you hope, right? I think so. We're good conversationalists. So hospitality sales executives, what do you see as the biggest challenge responding to inquiries? Right? How do inquiries come into you?
Mostly via CVent, and we have 160 properties in Europe, and basically we're getting turned down because there's so much compression in the cities. So you have to get a little creative. Would you be willing to go to Austria or Switzerland or other cities? So Yeah, a lot of compression in the cities, but you're trying to fit 2 years worth of meetings into one, 6 months.
So then how do you prioritize getting back to clients?
Well, the main thing is to turn them around within 24 hours. We kind of pride ourselves on that, so at least reach out and say, hey, what do you think about, another destination, or maybe a convention center, or work with, the various providers on the ground there, the DMCs, to see what's out there, so, yeah, sometimes it's, take them as they come.
Right, right?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Who else prioritizes leads, and how do you do that? How many sources do you have bringing them to you? You're laughing over there, Matt.
Well, I just know how much Olivia processes in a single day. It's incredible.
Okay. So share with us, Olivia, what that experience is like.
It's very daunting and busy. I like leads, I'll take them. The majority of our leads come via CVEN, but of course we have direct just from follow from shows, and we have Speed RFP, which is like an internal system that we use, so people directly going to our site can have access to that. But it's really my priority in the day. That's my first priority, is just to get all the info in so they can get their work in and communicate with our partners. So just prioritizing it so our hotels have enough time to respond and the client has options in a timely manner.
Sounds good. Anybody else want to share? All right, great. So what are the biggest, so the challenges would be time, right? And resources. And I also think short timelines, right? I mean, I remember when I was a catering manager, I couldn't imagine how busy I really was, and you couldn't believe you didn't have a minute, but oftentimes you didn't. And I think that we are so often running at a faster speed, and we're not used to that now. So we're trying to catch up and use all that energy, and we just feel like we can't catch up. So I asked my little survey question, and again, thank you for responding. So I think this answer, I had 40 responses, and this one came up the most. I used to be able to reach clients by phone, now it's mostly email. More tasks than relationships seems all the client wants to do is get it done. Do you experience that? I believe that a lot of hotel venue staffs are slim, which means, of course, the turnaround time to get responses is even slower. And I've noticed, and have seen from planner groups, that it seems many sales staff may not be as experienced, therefore causing issues during this process. Nancy Nachman, share your thoughts on this topic, please.
You read my mind. All of the above is correct. Slim staffs, I know, it's kind of like that thing, oh, how busy is your hotel tonight? Oh, we're full, but come on. When you ask a hotel about their sales teams, oh yeah, we're back to where, nobody's back to where they were. And therefore, it's a very slow process, and the bottom point about the client being impatient and wanting an immediate response, it's like every day I feel like I'm the kindergarten teacher, getting in that low chair, scooting up to the client to say, you have to take a minute here, and just, it's not gonna happen immediately like it used to, because there's not enough people to answer the flow and the amount of and just this week I had 2 hotels like, go to contract, contract didn't come, and that always makes me nervous. And guess what? The hotel manager, sales manager finally let me know, sorry, another salesperson took the space and it's gone. So that's happening a lot now too. It's busy out there, which is a good thing.
Right, and we'll get to that in a minute. So, what? Oh, I'm coming over to you.
Oh, I was just joking. I said, sounds like the real estate market.
Oh, because
Being outbid.
yes,
Like seriously.
yes.
I think one of the things that I'm finding that winds up affecting sales is that once you get a deal, it takes longer to actually get it done because people are scrutinizing contracts way more than they ever have. They're rewriting your force majeure clauses, and they want it all one side in your favor, so you're constantly also having to play lawyer. And if you're spending 4x time working out a contract with somebody, there's a queue building up then that you can't get to because there's only 24 hours in a day.
Oh, Nancy's got more.
And just on the flip side of that, from the customer's perspective, they're also sending contracts back through procurement and legal, which is holding up the pipeline as well, because they are scrutinizing, like from the
client side as well, so it's taking a long time on both sides.
So what I'm gathering from this little slide right here is that as everything I loved about this industry pretty much doesn't exist anymore, right? Who has ever had lunch with me? I love a good lunch. I love a good relationship building. I want to know your favorite cocktail, your dog's name, and where your husband went to college. I am that kind of girl. Look, she's in shock, Olivia. If you know me, you know it's true. But now we're becoming transactional. People don't have time or patience or bandwidth to talk about chit-chat and talk about nice little things. You know, think of some of the things you've done for your clients over the year, Nancy, over the years. Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of time and devotion. So I don't think loyalty is going to be there that much as well. All right, hospitality sales executives, what's your biggest obstacle in adding new clients? I'm going to start with Gordon, because he has launched multiple businesses successfully.
It's keeping up with all the demand. It really is, just to not let things fall through the crack, but to be faithful and get back to them when they need response fast. So that's my latest challenge. And I'm kind of back to a growth phase, so now I'm kind of starting back through what I've already kind of pioneered before, but we just keep working at it.
Re-engineering that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Who else wants to share your challenges? Oh, PG Lennon. Oh, yeah. She hasn't talked yet. Hi, how are you, Allie?
Good, did you like how I totally averted my eyes?
Oh, yeah, I've been scoping you since way back there. I just get to see if you're going to jump. I teach, so I'm used to calling
I'll
on people.
absolutely jump in.
Thank you.
Being a vendor of a meeting professional at a DMC, we are often very, very late in the game to know that something is even happening or occurring. So our biggest challenge, I think, is going back to your previous question, not this one, is just the turnaround time. Often we, in the past, pre-COVID, had a 30 to 60 day turnaround time for an inquiry to the actual event date, and it's even less than 30 days now. So, you know, we are very kind of last minute on the food chain of who knows about the event. So our biggest struggle is just hoping to be involved as quickly as possible in the planning process, because, you know, as a supply chain, somebody who's affected by the supply chain of getting product over from overseas and creating product, not knowing about something when somebody needs, you know, 500 pieces of linen in 3 weeks is not necessarily, wasn't a challenge pre-COVID, and now it's a challenge. So I think for us, it's just being involved in the process as a partner versus as a vendor, which is what we're trying to get back to, is being a partner with our clients versus being just like a vendor and the last person to know.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Everybody agree? Anybody else want to share a challenge they're having, adding new clients? I know, Penny told me I should call on hotel salespeople because they would never share something like that. I would tell you from my perspective, I think that this is true. Meeting professionals are excellent research assistants, and they do an excellent job researching and getting all the information, and then they bring it to someone who very much is like an iceberg and just kind of sits there for a long time. So then slowly it'll break, but it's certainly not at the pace that we're used to, and then suddenly it's too fast. So those are just my thoughts. All right, so these were some of my survey results. Scan will tell me that. It takes time to enter the data into the computer, type up contract and process deposits, and turn it in. You should have an admin do that. So how many salespeople do that? How many salespeople write up their own contract, process the contract, and take payment?
Oh, wow.
Oh, I haven't talked to you. Hi, I'm Lynn.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me. I'm good, I'm Denise. I actually use a system, it's called 17 Hats, and I have it all pretty much done to where I just do, when I get a lead, it goes in through that, and then I just do a click of a couple buttons, and I already have like emails depending on who it's for, whether it's a DMC, whether it's for, you know, a corporate client, or whether it's a bride. And I just like, you know, attach that email, and that sometimes I, you know, add a little, oh, I love that venue, you know, type thing, and then just send it off. And if they just have to accept the quote, sign the contract electronically, it goes right to an invoice, they pay the invoice, and it's just bing, bing, button.
So all technology based.
Yes.
That's awesome. Hi. I haven't talked to you at all yet. Good, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Well, I'm a little bit of a special case right now. I just started a new job about a month ago, and I was 17 years in hotel sales, and now I'm selling event technology. So it's a little
Huge.
different. But what I am finding, so from the tech side, I do have to do my own contract. It is a soup to nuts situation, except for payment. But it is doing a lot of the admin, the follow up, all of that. It's all done through technology. A tech company is going to use other tech companies, obviously, but learning that technology and the learning curve has been quite an undertaking. And so from a client perspective, if I was working with you, would just say, it takes me a little longer just because I'm learning everything, but I can sell it all really well. It's just the opposite, so just the learning curve.
Yeah, I have that challenge with CRMs, so sometimes I just sit and cry, right? It's a huge learning curve, right? So this first answer here is a lack of personnel, because every moment you take your salesperson away from selling to do administrative stuff, you're basically paying them $70 an hour when you could be paying somebody $25. So you have to look, if you're a manager, at how you want to spend your employee to spend your time. And if you're a true salesperson like me, you don't want to do paperwork. You just want to look cute and sell stuff, right? Right? So, this is another one that came up multiple times. Unwillingness to connect and meet, unresponsiveness, unable to meet. So if you're officing from home and the salesperson wants to meet you, you won't meet them because the office is still closed. Building trust is not achieved over Zoom. How many would agree with that? Has anybody met a great contact over Zoom? Oh, I'm gonna go there. Okay, you go first.
Well, yeah, when you're restricted to just Zoom, and I jumped into a new job, as you mentioned earlier, as an association planner after a 20-year career in corporate planning. So I have been, if Zoom is all we can do, Zoom is what we're going to do, because I'm kind of on a semi-open office, and I'm trying to source like 3 programs to say. And I just did one with from hotel via Zoom because it was all we could do. So I thought it was nice. We actually chatted. We found out we danced in the same circles. And so I just see it as an extension. I'd love them to be in front of me. I would love to see them. I'm a relationship person. But that said, I'll take Zoom.
Right, Gordon?
Yeah, sure. I think it'll become my 3rd largest account now, but we had to meet over Zoom because they were not willing to travel in, or I couldn't travel there, and it was better than just a regular phone call. It was a fairly small Zoom meeting. It wasn't dozens of people, but real effective, and yeah, we're working together again next month. It's taken off. I think you just have to add that to as another bullet in your belt. You just have to be comfortable with that, because there will be potential clients that's how they work. And unless you're just in a local market and only people who can meet face to face. So.
That the price of gas just going
Oh,
down.
there's that.
Doing that, quite frankly, like I've got a program I'm doing in November in Tucson, and I'm actually finally driving out to do the site inspection next week. But it's like with the price of gas, I get reimbursed for that, and they're like, "Are you sure you need to go do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I haven't seen the space because all we've done is Zoom." So the cost of gas is going to really impact that.
Make sure you get a good EGs when you're down there.
Yeah.
Strawberry lemon.
So one of my Zoom hacks that's worked really well is like when I see a lot of people put up this sterile backdrop and stuff, I actually sit someplace in my house with interesting things behind me and stuff, so that people go, hey, what's that? And it invites this interaction that is personal and stuff, where you couldn't do that if you're meeting at a Starbucks.
Right. So who's ever Zoomed with me?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
All right. What do I have in my backdrop?
Library. Love that.
We have a custom-made Civil War library for my husband because I'm a team player, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you. The backdrop is really, it creates conversation. It creates commonalities as well. Now, I love this last one because I worked for a woman who wanted me to take Boss Mind Reading 101. But have you taken Client Mind Reading 101? I mean, it's a very short class. So clients have a vision of what they want their meeting or event to be like. And it's hard to do that in an email. And I joke around a lot, and it doesn't always come out that way in an email. It comes out like I'm a terse person, but I'm really not. So I like the phone or the, personal interview. When I teach in WebEx, which so I don't love, but I still love that interaction. So look at what tools you have that are available to you. I think that we are not gonna, who picks up the phone and even calls people besides me today? Jeremy, yeah. Oh, Nancy was green. Nancy taught me how to make cold calls. Between her and my
Still
mom.
use all the bad words?
Right, and who just automatically sends an email out? I think it's generational, right? So talk about that.
Well, yeah, because quite frankly, okay, Gen X, they say we're cynical, we don't like to talk to people. No one say I don't like to talk to people, but if I can shoot up an email, it just frees up that much more time in my day. And really, particularly specific to this industry, if I'm looking and fishing for properties, if they don't even hit me back, I'm done. So email's kind of an effective tool for me.
Right, because whoever thought there would be a day when you would call a hotel sales department and get this? Thank you for calling the hotel sales department of our hotel. No one is available to take your call right now, but if we leave your name and number, we'll definitely get back to you sometime in this century, right?
Yeah, that's how it is right now.
Right, even when you're calling into a hotel, and you hit the operator, and then you go through hold for 7 minutes because they're down to 2 operators, right? I would have to say Fairmont still has live people answering the phone all the time. Most Ritz-Carltons do, and Four Seasons. Pardon?
If you're an NSO.
Like you, Amy?
That's correct. We answer our phones.
Every time?
Every time. If we're available.
Yeah. I'm big on that. When I was really young, I worked at a place called Ducky Bob's Party Rental, and that was the first place that I ever worked where they were getting that phone thing, where they put you on hold and you learned about Ducky Bob's and how Bob and Ducky married each other and all about our 24 colors of linen. So, and now it's so commonplace. I remember thinking, Mrs. Donald Zale is not going to want to listen to that, but apparently she did. So, yeah, it's very commonplace now. All right, hospitality sales executives, meeting professionals, this is the crux of my presentation. We are having 2 different conversations. When you are a hospitality sales executive, you think that meeting professional is going to get so excited. They're going to use your beautiful junior suite with your 500 count linen overlooking the pool, right? And then they're going to guarantee the hotel space, and they're going to guarantee you revenue through your spa and your golf course and other revenue streams, right? This is how a hotel salesperson is thinking. A meeting professional is thinking this: where am I going to put my general session? Where am I going to feed everyone? Oh, she's nodding. And how am I going to acknowledge my sponsors, trade shows, and exhibitors by revenue streams? And so because of that, this is what the negotiation really is. To a meeting professional, they want to protect themselves by assigning risk, more or less, right? A legal term?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they want to do it by attrition, cancellation, and termination clause. You totally agree?
Oh, yeah, 100%, because I have to protect the people I work for, and then they're counting on me to do that. So they want the fantastic meeting, and they want to use all the hotel space and have 50 rooms only. And by the way, I better not screw them up with an attrition line item. So yeah, that's exactly where my head is.
Nancy, did I ESP into you for this?
Yes, that's a very good point. I mean, it is obvious that I don't want to say 2 sides of the coin or different sides of the table, but that's very true. The salesperson is approaching it from a totally different revenue stream thought than the meeting planner who's starting in a whole different avenue. Good point.
Right, and so I think we have to bring it back to this, especially when we're coming to a time of transactional business and going away from relationships, which I still think are important. And as I tell my students, and I see one of them right here, belonging to industry associations is so crucial for your education, your mentoring, your networking, all of those experiences. But I think day to day it's becoming more transactional. I mean, imagine, Olivia, if you had to pick up the phone and call every single one of those people back.
Right? Couldn't do it.
All right, so meeting professionals, what's the biggest hurdle in contract negotiations? Suki, what is yours?
Contract negotiations right now, it's just the cancellation clause. Because my
Attrition. Talk more, Karen.
So I don't always know how many people are coming because my leadership team will change. They'll either add people or they will cut the number of people going to that meeting in half. I went from a 2,000 person meeting to a 750 person meeting, and I'm still in negotiations with that hotel.
Because that's called a favor after you sign the contract, right? Up until then, it's a negotiation.
Yeah, we're still trying to work out that favor with future meetings. Yeah, it's all about attrition. It's all about moving the goalposts. Sometimes leadership says, sorry, numbers are high on COVID. We have to change the whole meeting to next year. Can I move? I'm supposed to be in Aruba right now. Bye-bye. No, I'm here because we moved to Aruba to next year.
Wow, I'll go to Aruba.
And that hotel was fantastic. They were like, no problem.
Oh, so no attrition, no penalties, no
penalties,
problem rebooking.
no.
That's
And
gonna
I've only
be
given $40,000 so far.
Wow.
They didn't even ask for more money. They didn't care. They're like, we'll take you next year.
Customer centric, user friendly, right?
Yes.
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 How about you, Dawn?
I go through my own negotiations. I'm a contract company.
So you have a contract company. Wow, I'm interested in this. Who do you use? Well, you don't have to tell us. What do they do for you?
They source out almost all of my hotels and get the initial contracts for me based on what I want.
And how many meetings a year do you do?
Me personally, I probably do 10.
Wow. So that takes a lot off your plate right away, right? Imagine if you were a planner and you didn't have to source your own meetings. Or some companies, Amway used to be set up like this. One person did the sourcing, one person did the AV, one person did the food, and then one person sewed it all together. So think about how your time would be different. All right, so these were my surveys. I love the first one because I do not like texting. I do not allow my students to text to me. I tell them I will drop them if they text me. So changes in negotiation being text messages not working for me. Who's found that out? Jeremy, I haven't even called on you. Hi, how are you doing?
I got my own mic.
Okay, good. So nice to see you.
You do. So as far as text messaging, no, we just get a lot of people that try to call us on the fly or text us, changes, and we're like, no, I need the email thread so we can track it and just, it's all in one place and keep it in a folder. So I don't like that.
No, when I worked for Rob Hill at Maristone, Camille Hill at this time had something called a change order. So when you were on site, you had to guesstimate what the additional charges were going to be, and they would have to sign off on that. And one event I did, I think that night they added like $8,000. So that was not what was in the meeting planner's budget for the meeting. That was additional things that the VPs of marketing or the CEO signed off on. So I'm with you. Email used to be not considered legal, but texting definitely is not. So that's why I tell my students, texting is not recognized. I can't text with you.
We get a lot of messages via Teams.
Oh.
And that I always say, like, can you please email me? I need proper documentation, not Teams message.
So who likes Teams? Yeah, you do like it, Matt. You love it, yeah. I'm getting used to it. I'm an old Google Hangout meetings gal. I like that one too. So this one obviously came from a hotelier in the middle, and I will summarize it. Force majeure is debated, and it's a really gray area. Every city and government doesn't have the same definition, and so that's why it's hard to explain to a meeting professional in one destination why my city is different to the other one. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Right, you're kind of like, oh yeah, you're so fabulous.
I'm in the entertainment side of things, and we added a clause that basically says both the purchaser and the client acknowledge the existence of COVID in its current state. Therefore, it is not a force majeure event as of the date of the contract. The only way that can change is if government and federal regulations change at this point, because you're sitting there looking, I can't help it if you're afraid of COVID. It's like it's there, you know it. If you're afraid of it, then don't call me right now. But if you aren't afraid, then let's acknowledge it and change it.
Oh, that is awesome. Claire, you're naughty. You have that too? You're going to steal it, aren't you?
I'll send it to you if you need it.
It's not impossible.
Right.
Right.
It's not a living it. It's not
talking to a gal that was director of sales at a hotel here, and she said, oh my God, Lynn, I am so busy right now. I'm busy booking and rebooking and canceling and rebooking. So who here rebooked once? And did you have a penalty or cancellation fee?
No.
Okay. Who rebooked the second time? And then you had to go to a third, right, Donna?
No, I'm only on my second.
Anybody else go to a third? So what happened, Jeremy?
Well, with our clients, we've had clients that have rebooked with us, I think up to the third or fourth time, and they're still coming up next year. So they just keep pushing it back. And, I mean, some of them with special cases will actually roll it over, but most of them we say, okay, with 6 months to a year, you have to use this retainer, it's not refundable. You know, so we give them a window to use it, but then after a certain window, it's like,
PETA
you
fee.
forfeited it, yeah.
It's like a PETA fee, yeah. That's good information. I had a client that I sourced some meetings for, 7 cities, 5 hotels in each city, I think it was, or the other way around. And then they decided COVID, the vid, as Penny calls it, the vid happened, and so she canceled year 1, she canceled year 2, and now year 3, they're gonna go virtual. So they are still afraid to go back out there, and that was supposed to happen this month in March. So everybody's traveling at a different speed. I think we are all ready to jump right back in, and we just don't really know what tools to use to make it happen. Okay, so from both of you, what are common questions that you asked today that you hadn't asked previously? When clients are calling in, what are they asking you, Kate, that they used to not ask you?
Right now, it is all about flexibility.
I like that.
And, you know, and they're worried about making commitments, and they're worried about, so, you know, and booking pace and what's happening. And I had a question, you know, is this demand real, or are you guys just making it up? And I was like, no, it's real, you know, and so it's kind of funny. I mean, there's different things going on here. That's the way business is.
That's right. How about you, Deborah? You're like in the 6th largest city in the whole United States.
Well, like Kate, everyone wants to know if the demand is true, and why are the rates so high? Why are they so much higher than all the other destinations? And so it's a big education process on how to shut down a lot of the other destinations.
Right.
We've definitely thrived through this.
Right. How about you, Blair? You're in God's country.
Oh, same, like,
Or what are they asking? Can I come back if I have to cancel? Is it really a 2-hour drive up there?
do you have 10 rooms? No. Like, no. This spring, no. But same in a lot of hesitancy with just finally confirming the room block and the number of guest rooms and so forth, and like, okay, when do I have to have the contract? Well, when do I have to give you the rooms?
Yeah, so I have a client, she's out in Denver, and she flew in with her client, who wasn't really a friend, and they cited a couple of hotels. I took them to Squawky, counted back in. They bought me dinner at City Hall, fabulous restaurant, and I dropped them at one hotel, which used to be a lot of the planners' favorite hotel in town, and when they walked in, they felt it was dated. So then they utilized a transportation company to take them to the next hotel, and they loved it, except for there were things about the hotel the CEO didn't like. So this was all on a Monday. They came back, so she is calling from the airport crying. She went home that night and went to her CVET mystery magical machine and was able to pull up 3 properties that she really wanted before but didn't have space for her. So she was able to book at one of the properties because somebody else had a lot of attrition and cancellation. So she got to take, so granted, she flew in on Friday to cite a meeting that was starting in 10 days, but they already had the airlifts, so for her it worked out great. They got great rates, they just cloned the other company's meals, and so they got good food and beverage pricing. So I think we have to look at opportunities like that too, and ask those kind of questions. Do you have an open slot? Can I help someone with attrition? Any other questions that you're hearing or saying? Yeah.
Well, actually, one of the questions that I am told to ask in my industry, I probably work for the one industry in the world who does not believe in masks at all, and it's actually a decision point. If the hotel or the property or convention center requires masks, they're not interested. So I'm not even allowed to pursue the RFP. So that's one of the first things that come out when I approach the hotels, because I'm So I like to send the RFPs out myself or through a third-party sourcing company, and that is my top question on there, is whether or not they need masks, because then I can't even pursue the discussion.
I have another client friend who has that similar directive from the CEO of her company. They do not want that. And you're right, it is a challenge. All right, meeting professionals, Donna, what was your biggest challenge this year and how did you overcome it? Oh no, I'm gonna go to Karen because I haven't met you that much.
What was my biggest challenge this year? I gotta think about that.
Okay, I'll go back to Donna.
Go back to that. Yeah. So I think the biggest challenge in 2021 for me was learning to do 100% virtual events and learning new platforms. I use Airbnb for a lot of mine because it has virtual networking.
Airbnb, awesome.
Airbnb is awesome. I was actually busier in 2021 with virtual events than I am right now planning my in-person events. I was crazy last year with virtual events.
Agreed. We switched
I was
from,
glad to come to in-person event planning again so that I could get a break.
we bought into CVent in November of 2020, and in January, second week of January, I had my first virtual class, and between November and January, we built 15 registration websites
Wow.
for 15 different universities.
I applaud you, I'm
That's
too old
great.
to think that new.
Right? Wow.
That is great,
Yeah,
so
it
that was a
crazy.
good challenge.
Yeah, it was crazy.
All right, great. Nancy, did you have one particular challenge?
I think just turning the brain back on from the vacation. It was, transitioning back to how it stopped suddenly, it started suddenly. Right? Got really, really busy, it went crazy, and it's crazy right now. But I'm not complaining. Nope.
All right, hospitality sales executives. What's the toughest sales situation you've encountered so far, and what did you take? I'm gonna go right here to you, cutie patootie.
Give me a minute.
Exactly, I'm gonna pass the mic. Well, again, because I switched industry slightly, it's a little hard of a question to answer. Can I pass?
Yeah, go to Gwen.
I got one.
Oh, okay, she's finished. Here, let me spot you.
I think going back to a question a minute ago of what questions are you getting asked that you never have gotten, or much more rarely have gotten, is what is the last possible second I can confirm this contract with you? I mean, literally to what time is the very last minute. And I think that that's just becoming so rough for us because it takes a village to make things happen, especially when we're shipping things across the country. And I think just getting people to come to us, to trust us that, we can deliver on that is great because they do trust that we can make things happen last minute, but it is just so tough because then it puts a lot of pressure on everything that's pre-booked and everybody that, followed the rules and ordered in advance and just having so much last minute. I think that's kind of a challenge for everybody. But also I think the decision makers too have changed in the industry too. So a lot of the people that we've worked with for years and years maybe left the industry, maybe left their job or at a different company in a different position. So really just figuring out who are the decision makers that we need to then build that relationship with. And again, nobody has time to build a relationship. So it's finding new avenues to get the trust from people that we've never worked with before, that don't want to take the time to sit down and have coffee. So, it's all over email.
Right. Anyone else want to share it? Oh, yeah. Thanks, Jen.
So I think one of the hardest things that I've had to face is when clients are canceling for fear as opposed to actual force majeure and trying to figure out, how I'm gonna handle it because you can win the battle but lose the war. If it's a long-term client, you could roll over and hope that gives you enough goodwill to keep getting bookings into the future. Or you could have them pay you and go, great, I'm never gonna work with you again. So trying to balance that and figure out who to extend what deals to has been really challenging.
Right, and I think that's important too. I grew up with this guy and he got engaged to the same woman 4 times. 3 times he canceled the wedding 2 weeks before. But it was all the same band, the same hotel, the same everything. And nobody ever credited him when he rebooked them the next time. You would have thought by the first one they were so excited he was finally going through with it. But yeah, it's like they're still very different. All right, so this is what the survey results said. Identify flexible and refined sales techniques, and I think we've talked about that a little bit. Different ways to reach people, or to put your own personality in there. Recognize new stakeholders, and Allie, you just spoke to that exactly. A lot of the seasoned planners and salespeople that we've worked with, they've decided to re-career in different directions, or else they just want to answer the phone and work 9 to 5, get a great hourly rate, health insurance from the day they start. I think we've learned tips for creating, right? Have you learned a few tips for creating effective supplier relationships? And do you think that you are able to work with your suppliers, valued suppliers and planners, to get through any high hurdles 2022 and beyond? All right, great. So I'm taking any questions. Anybody want to share a thought, or tell me I'm wrong in my thoughts, or ask me what the survey really said? No? Okay, great. Oh, okay.
We got it.
And
I'm coming over your way.
Okay, so I'm an ASU student coming up and graduating, and it's been super interesting watching how COVID has hit this industry, from hospitality side, from meeting planner side, all of it. And I have to say, tons of you guys have switched companies, you've switched places, and I've watched this, and I've been sitting there, honestly, 2020, I was just like, oh my gosh, did I choose the right degree?
yes, you did, Amanda.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
I'm just really terrified of where this is going. What the heck? I don't want to live online forever. And, I like people, I like faces and in person, and virtual is great too. But just with all of that, there is a future out there still for students to come and get into this, right? It's
You have a room of survivors.
I know, right? Maybe that's more what I'm saying.
All right,
We're surviving,
we
right?
all made it.
All right, so Nancy and I studied hotel management in school. Who else did? Right? Oh, you did too, Jen? Running around? Oh, okay, that's good. Right? And I wake up every day. I love what I do. Nancy, Deborah, right? I love what I do. I love the industry. I think it would be hard to leave. And Amanda, I think you belong here.
You do,
Yeah.
Amanda. You're gonna be just
So,
fine.
somebody figure out the job. Great. We've had so many great experiences in our industry. We've worked a lot of hours, but we've had a lot of great opportunities that most people haven't, right?
And I remember a professor telling me way long ago that you will be able to get a job wherever you live in this world. And we're all kind of vagabond travelers. I just love that, and it's true. You'll find yours perfect.
You won't find a better industry, because this industry, we care about you hear about negotiations and suppliers and all that. I'm a planner, I care about my suppliers, they're very important to me. And these people have been coming through COVID, I was laid off, this is my 3rd job, and this one it's sticking. But the interesting part in this industry is it's not just about hoteliers or planners. These skills, they cross over. I was able to find a job in 3 weeks when I got laid off. Now, it wasn't in hospitality, but it tided me over based on the skills and the management skills and the people skills and all that goes with it. So you're not doing yourself wrong by all. Probably you've got one of the best degrees out there, because now you can do almost anything.
That's true. That's true. I tell my students that we are really project managers, and once you think about like that, you become recognized as a more professional organization and a more professional industry. Well, here's my information. So you can email me if you want a copy of the PowerPoint, if you want a summary of our data once we figure that all out. And if you help me with my presentation, I will get you your gift in the mail. Thanks so much. Oh, and thanks for my tree. Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you, Ms. Lynn, we appreciate it. And on behalf of MPI Sunbelt Chapter, also we'll take, we should probably get around this way. Let's go around. Christina wants to take pictures. Thank you. All right, thank you everybody